Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Happy Saturday. I am sorry I am running a little bit late. I feel so bad. I have CJ, the amazing friend, amazing journalist. She's been covering the Perez trial. If you don't know about CJ, you have got to follow CJ. We love her here. I am honored, completely honored that she said yes to come back to the channel because she has been covering this Rebel Wilson and Amanda Ghost mess up until this point. And so when I reached out and I said, look, I want to start diving in, but I don't even know where to start. She was more than happy to spend her Saturday hanging out with us guys. And I feel bad that I kept her waiting. I kept you waiting, but we are here. I have to admit, I was up all night looking at this case. It is a mess. It's a mess, this case. As you can tell, I didn't sleep because I was up all night looking at this case. So there's a couple things I want to say before we let CJ in and celebrate her because we all love her is number one, for the chat, let's stay on topic, guys. I have ADHD and I really struggle when the chat goes off, especially if there's like newly released documents. My brain can't handle both seeing what's going on in the chat and what's going on in my head and what I'm trying to present to you guys. So if we can stay on track and on topic in the chat, that would be amazing. And it would help me deliver things more coherently for you. That's number one. Number two, we do have a full-blown expose series coming out on this case. Now that it, really, if I'm being honest, it didn't interest me in the beginning because none of these people involved really interested me. But seeing a name continue to pop up in cases, Melissa Nathan, started to spark my interest. So we are going to do a full-blown expose on this. I don't even know how many series it's going to be because that's how involved this case is. But I have a playlist as well that I'm going to organize it under. I am fully aware of both the alleged and the proven past of Amanda Ghost. And I'm not using that as any reason to base my judgment on whether she is telling the truth and or lying. We will get into that in one of the first videos. I'm going to lay the groundwork of both Rebel Wilson because I have all the Aussies in this community sending me a bunch of stuff being like, this is her past as well. Both her and Amanda. But at the end of the day, this is PR. This is crisis PR. You leverage kernels of truth from someone's past, you sensationalize it, you blow it up online with clickbait headlines, and people run with it. And that's the whole point of crisis PR. So whether Amanda's past, some of it's proven, a lot of it honestly traces back solely to the smear campaign websites that were created. Whether it's true or not, I really don't feel it has much bearing on this case because even if it is true, doesn't mean there wasn't a smear campaign against her. And it's similar to what happened with Justin, right? Blake, how often does Blake try to leverage his past? How often does she take words from his past and try to use it against him? So it's just something we will get into it. I am fully aware of her past. It's not something we'll probably get into much today, but we'll see. CJ is probably going to lead the conversation a lot today. And what else do I have to say? I think that's it. All right, let's bring CJ in, see how CJ's doing.
Good morning. Y'all get Avatar CJ this morning because I'm struggling ever since traveling to Vegas and being on PST and then getting used to that time zone. I'm still in bed, y'all. Just propped up in the bed, like fighting for my life right now. But I'm really thankful and grateful that you have me on because this is a case that I've been sleuthing for like 2 months. My followers have been waiting. They're like, when are you going to, finally drop Rebel? And I'm like, y'all don't understand. It's so complicated. I got to untangle all of it. And I started doing like a little 1-minute vertical series where it's just like short little 1-minute episodes. So I've got 8 of them done. I have 2 more left to wrap up the story, but it should introduce like the characters because it's got about 13 to 14 people between cross complaints. Now we got Melissa Nathan and Tag up in there. So
they're up in there. They're officially on the docket.
And it's so tangled because there's like 4 people, on the producer side. There are 3 people, but I guess technically 4. And then you have Rebel. And one of the things that I found out last night, because I've been covering Perez, so I haven't been, looking at this, and you said something new dropped, right? Which is the Melissa Nathan stuff. And then when I went to go see like what's going on in the docket, I realized that Brian Friedman is no longer representing Rebel. And I know me and you were connecting the dots last night because shout out to DFJ who's been helping me with this and research on this. Um, she actually had sent me those text messages that Variety was talking about. And she's like, look what I found, these little Easter eggs, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, wow, it's talking about a website and it's Rebel and it's in the Baldoni docket. So last night I was telling you, she sent those August 15th, but they dropped August 14th on the docket, right? It was that unsealing of exhibits. It was exhibit 19, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then she, remember I told you I thought it was the 18th. The 18th is when the docket got filed in the Rebel case for the change of attorney, but she actually, it's signed the 14th. So the
Oh,
exact
wow.
date that it dropped, those text messages dropped in the docket, she switched attorneys. So I was like screaming last night when I texted you. I was like, what?
What? So the same day, that makes it even crazier.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it was the same day that docket hit. She changes lawyers. Brian Friedman signs off, and now it's Catherine Thompson, which I was sleuthing her a little bit last night to see her, track record and stuff like that. But she hasn't really done any like super high profile cases. So she's no Camille, but
Yeah.
it'll be definitely interesting. And I wonder if part of the reason why he no longer represents her is maybe because I had two theories. Does her story not add up anymore? Or
Mm.
is he too close to the sauce, to the
Yeah.
mess?
Yeah, so when you just said the date change and from what we thought last night to today, there's definitely a reason. There's no coincidence that it changed. There's no at the exact same
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, because in the docket it said August 18th. So I was like, okay, well, did this drop? And then 3 days later she did it. But then when I actually opened the document, it's signed on the 14th. So it's like it's the exact same day.
Wow. All
And
right.
Haley was saying, did Rebel drop Friedman or Friedman drop Rebel? I'm not quite sure which way because it doesn't really say. It just says substitution of attorney. So it doesn't actually spell out who it was. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why there's two theories. Either he said, I don't want to represent you for whatever reason. I don't even know if that's allowed. If we have any lawyers here, is it allowed to just drop your client for?
That's a good question. I think if they have backup, I think so, but I've actually messaged not actually Golden about this, and I'm hoping she's going to have some insights. I've asked her to cover this as well for some lawyer
Yes,
insights
that
on
would be so
this.
cool. I love her. And she
Mhm.
she she has great insights on the Drake versus UMG. And I know everyone was comparing this to like, Lively because of what was uncovered yesterday with Variety.
Mhm.
But for me, it feels more like Drake versus UMG because there, how Drake is trying to expose the underbelly of like the music
Mhm.
industry and how it works with bots and stuff like that. Well, Rebel is allegedly trying to do that with, the film industry, like quid pro
Mhm.
quos and all this other stuff. So that's what got me enticed into it was um all the conspiracy theories,
Mhm.
aspects of it, like the yachting and the Russian oligarchs. And because,
Mhm.
Ye has been talking about this for a while that this
Yeah.
goes on. But we have said, Ye's just crazy. Like this is just Ye's wild X rants. So but that's what intrigued me because I was like, wait, this is similar to what Ye was trying to say was
Mhm.
going on.
Mhm.
And then now we have Rebel saying it. So obviously it's all allegedly, and it's a crazy deep dive for
Mhm.
us, tinfoil heads.
Yeah, and I think, overall for me, my interest is the PR obviously side of it for the channel, and of course, the underbelly of just Hollywood and overall. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not, and I said this on Instagram, I have no loyalty. Let me pull it up as well because, I have no loyalty to like Melissa Nathan and Jen Abel and them. I have you guys thought my tabs, I had a lot of tabs before. This is ridiculous now, pulling up all of this. Is this it? Hopefully this is it. Damn it. No. Where is it? Um, but for me, what I find so fascinating with this case is that it's really exposing media manipulation and narrative control regardless. Like the fact and the length that PR agents will go to. And I said this on my Instagram yesterday, is at the end of the day, it's not usually PR agents aren't taking it because it's a morally righteous fight. They're taking the client because that's their specialty. That's what they do. Oh, here it is. Let's see if I can actually pull this up. And I'm so bad at multitasking. Guys, my tabs are just horrible.
Girl, I always struggle with that first pulling up that first
Oh,
screenshot, especially when you have tons of tabs open,
it's
because it doesn't like present them in order like the first one.
no, it's
Trying
so
to pull it up, it's like which one? I usually just pull up whatever window and then go to the tab I need and then hit share screen. That's how I usually do it.
there we go. Okay, so I just want to ground us because that, again, my loyalty so far, unless something huge comes out tomorrow or the next day about Justin Baldoni, my loyalty so far is to him because I do believe at this point he is innocent of what he's been accused of. And the reason why I really don't feel any kind of loyalty to his team so far is like these are the messages Jen Abel and Melissa Nathan were sending. Like Jen Abel literally said, I can't stand him. He's so pompous. A men's retreat during release. Is he crazy? And being off the grid for the summer because he's so overworked? Like, calm down. You're not that important and nobody gives a shit how hard your life is. He doesn't need a retreat. He needs to be humbled. When this movie flops, he's going to blame every person around him for it. He may fire us. This is all Jen Abel. May fire us even if we put together an amazing campaign. It's not going to change the fact that he's so unlikable and unrealistic as a leading man. There's no chemistry with him and Blake. You and I both know that we'll be resistant. She will be resistant to promote this movie, and press will be reluctant to do anything with Justin without Blake being a part of it. So there, those are my thoughts. It's so cringy, his face. And then someone sends to Jen and the person says Blake was probably grossed out too. And then you have the messages from Melissa Nathan in this thread as well, where she's the one that says it's actually sad because it shows how you have people really wanting to hate on women. And then she says lower down, she does say, just had a nice conversation with Justin, just him and me. I explained to him a few things in my conversation. He's like, don't help her. Anyway, they go on. And Melissa Nathan at one point says, and I think it's in this one as well, that the internet like essentially is defending him. And she's like, I don't agree with half of them. So what I've also noticed in going through all of the files is it looks like Melissa Nathan actually started a signal chat without Justin. And it was actually termed PR and in brackets without JB. So she also started some kind of signal chat for whatever reason why she didn't want him to be a part of it. There was a signal chat where her and Jen and whoever else were in it. And it's in recent unfiled documents where they all were part of a chat he wasn't a part of. So this is why my loyalty is not to them. My loyalty is to truth. My loyalty is to Justin Baldoni and hopefully him getting justice within this, because this is PR, unfortunately. Like, and you look at the documents and the text from Melissa, she trashes Jen Abel in them. She's casually talking about all the cases she's working on, which is actually how she got herself involved in this one. This one with Rebel Wilson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with the loyalty part. I'm a Brian Friedman stan though, so I was struggling. So when I found out he's not repping her no more, I was like, oh great, because part of the reason why I felt like Rebel was so believable in in the last couple weeks since I've been researching it was also because I know that Brian Friedman fights for the underdog, to expose truths, all that stuff. So I had this already. It's funny because I was telling Laura, like, I made a whole edit on Brian Friedman. I'm a Brian Friedman stan. I don't know if y'all seen it on my TikTok. He's got little glasses and stuff, little shades. Yeah. And so I was like, we were talking about it because I was like, I can't fathom Friedman representing someone who would be lying, or because all of his clients usually are like the underdogs.
Yeah.
Something's being exposed, and I love Camille too. So I was like, dude, this is two of my favorite people. It's Camille versus Friedman. And it was for sure going to be like a great lawyer fight because they're both really good writers.
Oh, yeah.
And especially if they, went to trial, I'd love to see Camille again. But now that Friedman's off the table, it's like I'm looking at it from a different lens, because I'm like, for one, why is Friedman no longer there? Is this because, maybe her story had holes or cracks or something? And then for two, now that Melissa Nathan has entered the chat and all that stuff, it's like, another look at like Amanda Ghost's story. But the thing is that when you read all the docs, it seems off the top that Rebel was just trying to take over the movie, this or that. But then once you start reading like what she was actually doing, like the timeline of things, it just doesn't add up to me that Rebel would make it all up, because she has receipts of other people who were there, who saw it, who heard it. But then again, until they come up, until they come out and say something, it could just be like the Blake Lively stuff where she says, I have all these witnesses, and Isabella and Jenny. But
well,
yeah,
the actress who Rebel originally said, was a part of this and SH by Amanda Ghost she's now threatening to sue Rebel Wilson for ruining her career and for putting false statements out there. And she's claiming now, the actress, that Rebel knew all along it wasn't true before. And then she still went to the press anyway with things that this actress, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, had said, no, that's not true. That's not what happened. And Rebel went anyway. And, it's interesting. Again, I think it's going to be one of those cases where my hope is to present all the facts and everyone kind of make their own decision, because you're right. It's just like Blake Lively with Isabella. Blake Lively was like, I have all these people to back me up. I don't know. Do you?
Yeah.
It's just, the case is wild. And I just want to say, Christy, yes, PR, depending case by case, they can be innocent in one case, guilty for other cases. Well, yes. And and that's what I mean. PR is not taking PR's PR. PR going to PR, right? So
yeah,
it doesn't.
with smear campaigns. It's like, for me, it was just like, well, that's a regular Tuesday in PR.
Exactly. That's
The
just what
term smear campaign is crazy that it's like coined now, because it's in PR, you have to fight for your client. Sometimes there's, stories that are seeded for other clients, because you see that like passing the buck a lot, like with Cardi B and her PR. A lot of the time it'll go to like another female rapper. When Cardi B's in trouble, there'll be like other headlines of other female rappers. That's just the way that PR works. You try to make people look left and not at your client, and sometimes that includes talking about other people and stuff. So, but her name was Charlotte McKinney.
That's what it is. Yes.
Charlotte McKinney. And the thing with that story is, like, it could very well have been that something was going, because they're basically saying that it's kind of like an R. Kelly situation. If you remember R. Kelly and the Ariel situation, where they had like, the girls trapped and all this stuff away from their parents and all this stuff. So that's what Rebel is claiming, that Charlotte is basically being kind of like kidnapped slash, obviously this is allegedly, you don't have a little bar underneath. I feel like crazy just saying that. I'm like, where's the allegedly bar? Allegedly, like being trafficked and held against her will for like quid pro quo. So it's got like little tinges of like the Fat Joe case too, or the Tyler Perry case, where she's insinuating that she's getting favors in exchange for, I guess, her services, like some type of thing. Like it's kind of crazy, but obviously allegedly. So we'll get to your timeline.
It's all wild. So, okay. So to ground it in, because a lot of people are just brand new to this case, and I don't want to confuse everyone too much with like all of the nuances. So this is the timeline that I kind of put together last night on what kind of has gone down. So we have around July 10th, Rebel posted a video on Instagram accusing producers of embezzling funds, bad behavior. We watched that yesterday. July 12th, Amanda Ghost, Gregor Cameron, and Vince Holden filed defamation lawsuit against Rebel in LA Superior Court. July 29th, the plaintiffs filed the first amended complaint. July 31st, 2024. This is where those websites, which now have allegedly been linked back to Melissa, I'll pull up the complaint that Variety was talking about, or the filing Variety was talking about. But this is when this is interesting to me from a PR perspective, and everyone's going to see it in their own way based on their expertise and their life experience. But we have this complaint at the end of July, end of July. We have these smear websites that show up July 31st. This is the first time I can see anything. Like, I have searched anything calling Amanda Ghost the Indian Ghislaine Maxwell. So that was just days after the complaint. Early August 2024, it looks like Rebel filed additional papers. And that's where a lot of people are quoting look at Rebel says that she's the Indian Ghislaine Maxwell. And look at, she's making all these claims. But the weird thing for me personally is if you look at Rebel Wilson's filing, it's almost word for word what the anonymous smear websites have said, like almost word for word. Whoops, what did I do? Oh my God, I hate technology. October 21st, 2024, roughly, Rebel files her anti-slap motion to strike the defamation suit. That was denied. I was able to find that as well. Or wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. October 29th, Ghost and team file motion for limited discovery to oppose the anti-slap motion. November 21st, 2024, the court issues a tentative ruling denying Rebel's anti-slap motion. September 2nd, 2025, Rebel files a cross complaint naming Ghost plus Melissa, Nathan, and Tag. So I'll pull that up next. September 4th, 2025, Ghost team files opposition with exhibits declarations, including the It Ends With Us text. Variety reports on that filing. So is there anything big in there that you think I'm missing? So you've been following the case. That's just you guys are seeing behind the scenes. This is literally my notes in Google Drive.
Well, for my timeline with the stuff, like how, because I included all the minute tiny details. I also had the dates from Rebel Wilson's first go-to, because this isn't her first go-to in court. She's kind of like a court connoisseur at this point. She's been so I had included some like important dates as far as her lawsuit with Bauer Media, and how that went down with, them saying that, claiming allegedly that, she was known for lying about everything from her age to, her city of birth to like basically her whole entire persona and life was made up. Which she won, actually. There was a defamation lawsuit that she was like, no, I'm not a liar. This is standard for actors. We use different names, blah, blah, blah. And then on appeal, she ended up losing all the money that she had won, because they basically said that she had to give some of that money back because it was like wrongly ruled. So I had those filings as well, because it does give some background on Rebel. And then as well as Sacha Baron Cohen, because when she was writing her memoir and she decided to, a lot of people think that's why Sacha and his wife divorced. It was right after she dropped those little Easter eggs that he had SH'd her on the set of their movie. But one thing, the little Easter egg that I found in the Sacha Baron Cohen case is that she published this memoir and she was able to publish it here in the US, but the UK and Australia would, because they have like stricter defamation laws, they did not publish it. And so if it were actually true, wouldn't she have gone ahead and just been like, well, it's true, he can't get me on defamation, so I'm just going to print it? But no, her publishers are like, girl, if you don't have receipts for this and this may not be true, you can't, this is a defamation lawsuit waiting to happen. So for me, that gave credence to the fact, Rebel may not always be truthful. Because if it was true, then she wouldn't have had, any problems printing that in UK and Australia. So that was another little Easter egg of like a important timeline there. And then as far as Ghost, obviously when she was fired from her job at Epic Records, because Rebel claims that she made such a mess of her life in the music industry as a, singer-songwriter and all that stuff, and lost credibility, herself, Amanda Ghost, that then she pivoted to like a whole other industry, like, and now I'm going to go into producing where nobody really knows who I am, kind of thing, find this niche, backed by this Russian billionaire. And so it does have tinges of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, where there's like someone with lots of money that's backing a production company which could, some people could say Steve Sarowitz, Baldoni.
Mm-hmm.
But like people in your chat are saying, like each thing has to be handled individually, because I see little tidbits of all, I follow celebrity legal cases. That's my whole thing. I'm like in them. So I see tinges of all kinds of, I was like, oh, this reminds me of this case. Oh, this reminds me of this case. And I know a lot of people see Camille and automatically think Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, with that whole smear or alleged smear.
Now, I'm just going to interject there. Now, something I will say is someone had mentioned on X about, here's, as I always say, PR going to PR, lawyer's going to lawyer, is about Camille and how she seemed, because her statement to Variety was saying that we have to stop these PR tactics that are ruining people's lives. And they said, well, she seemed fine with it in the JD trial. And I'm going to be quite honest. I don't want to say what I know, and I'm not going to say what I know because it's not in the public domain. But because I've worked with celebrities, let's just say that Melissa's very good at her job. And at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, Camille, like it's not okay here, but certain things are okay there. Like, I just don't understand. But she's been very good at her job. I think she's going to struggle to get work after this, to be honest, but she's been very good at her job. But you're right. I've seen that conversation going around in regards to Camille but she also worked on that case, the JD case. And there was a very strong PR campaign that was run in the JD
That's what
case.
A lot of people have to remind me too. Is like sometimes lawyers can represent different sides. Like if you look at Michael Gottlieb, he's representing Blake Lively, saying this is a smear and all this stuff. And then with Ryan Reynolds, where he was like, you can't sue over hurt feelings or whatever, the nice pull stuff. But yet he's also representing Drake in Drake versus UMG, where in that case, he's like, these words are hurtful, and like he's literally suing over hurt feelings. So to me, I'd be like, well, that doesn't make sense, because he's arguing that this isn't defamation, that it's just, freedom of art and expression in this case. But then in this other case, he's saying, no, that's definitely defamation. Who cares if it's rap lyrics? Who cares if it's art form? So that's one of the things I learned through covering these cases, and I've had to come to terms with, is like sometimes lawyers can be on the same lawyer but different arguments.
PR too. It's the same thing with the PR too. I agree with you 100%. And that's why I was trying to stress yesterday, like me calling out Melissa, Nathan, and Jed, I'll defend them where they need to be defended. I'll call them out where I feel they need to be called out. But that doesn't mean that Justin allowed those things to happen. But it also doesn't mean because they're associated with Justin that they're always crystal clean, perfect examples of ethical PR, right? Like that's the thing I think we have to understand is, just as you said with lawyers, is it doesn't mean just because they're associated with Justin that he did those certain things that he's being accused of, but it also doesn't mean that Melissa would refuse to do those in other cases.
Yep.
That's just my thoughts on it.
Christy said, don't stand a lawyer. Yeah. I'll be standing Brian Friedman. I don't care until somebody tells me any different. I love his style. And I know a lot of people like, Jose Baez obviously let the Casey Anthony case, which, she should have gone to jail and all that stuff. But for me as a lawyer, like taking it outside of, obviously, like, I wish that, Kaylee Anthony had gotten justice, but I'm a Jose Baez stan. I saw him in the Aaron Hernandez trial. He does what he does for his clients. And I mean, he gets people off and stuff, and he's phenomenal to watch as a trial lawyer. So, sometimes I struggle with that because I'm like, he's on the other side and I want justice, but he's so good.
It's tough sometimes.
He's so good at his job.
So Haley actually asked a fantastic question. So does anyone else now think that Jed Wallace was making himself to be way too boring and normal? Maybe he's an internet wizard. I think he's 100% an internet wizard. The fact when I can't find anything on someone, that especially someone in PR and SEO manipulation and understands all that, if I can't find something on someone, it makes me more curious than anything. It's very hard to find things on Jed. Stephanie Jones as well. She is a very difficult one to find, even anything negative. It goes like that if something bad about her goes up. But yes, I think Jed is a wizard. Now, does that mean he did anything bad in Justin's case? Of course not. And I want to make sure that, and I know in this community, you guys understand the difference, but I absolutely think he's a wizard. There's also someone made an interesting comment on one of my posts because there's, Blake keeps going on about like they always work together, which who cares? You get along well with people, you work with them on multiple cases. But I do wonder if Jed and Brian have worked together a lot in the past, which doesn't mean anything nefarious. It doesn't mean anything bad. They trust each other, they like each other, they think that each other do really good work. But someone had mentioned that it looks like they've worked together multiple times. But again, it doesn't mean anything nefarious. But I do think, and I said on one of my comments yesterday, I think it was on X, the fact Jed, because I said, well, like Jed should have all these multiple millions of dollars then if he's, running PR for all these top celebrities. You're not running PR in conjunction with the Brian Freeman if you're a no one. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense, CJ? Like, you're not working in conjunction with the Brian Freeman if you're just some rando on the internet. Like, it just
No, exactly. And also, like for me, I don't know, I'm like a very like evidence proof type of person. And so just because this is what the argument is with Baldoni, right? There's these text messages that basically say, we want to bury her, whatever those, we know the bury texts. But it doesn't mean that it actually happened because
exactly.
there's other texts that say, it's organic. We're just kind of watching it. It's already happening. Like, oh my gosh, how lucky are we? And I feel the same way about uh the Rebel stuff because that we do have that text from Melissa Nathan saying like Rebel wants one of these sites. So do we know that she actually provided the site? Which, a lot of people are like, well, there's Stephanie Joan Leaks. It's just like Amanda Ghost sucks. The similarities are uncanny. There must have been something, but do we know that he actually provided it? Or could maybe he had wanted it, or they had wanted a site and she went rogue and got somebody else to do the site for her if they told her no, or, like without the proof of them actually being behind the site. And then especially because Stephanie Jones Leaks was now attributed to not Jed Wallace, but somebody in Tag PR's employment, right? So is it just Melissa going rogue and it has nothing to do with Jed? Because that's my theory. My theory is Jed is not the provider of the websites. My theory is maybe either this is Melissa, Tag PR going rogue with these services, or it was something that was asked of them and they never did, just like, it didn't happen in Baldoni. So those are my two theories until I see further proof as far as like IPs or who created it or whatever.
Totally off topic, and I don't know what just made me think of this, but the Katie case that is referenced over and over and over again in the text messages between Melissa and Jen. Did you know that like I can't find any information, but there's a rumor going around, alert rumor, that she was apparently let go from Tag, but it's after all of those text messages happened. So she's not involved with Tag anymore. She doesn't work for Tag and Melissa. But it was around the time of all those text messages being sent back and forth in regards to this case. All of these cases are so convoluted. There are so many characters involved in all of them. And, to your point when you said about Jed, another thing I was thinking about is his role and his expertise. I don't think you're going to be able to get his fingerprints on the website. So what someone like him would do typically, and it would be hard to trace it back to him, honestly. But typically what someone like him would do would provide more of like the PR perspective on how to do it. He would understand the SEO. But I imagine what's going to happen is even if you can trace who bought the website or who, is quote unquote behind it, I don't think you'll actually get his name attached to it. I don't think you will because he wouldn't be necessarily the one setting it up. It's a tricky and he knows how to.
And Charles Babcock to me did his job because I'm so endeared to Jed through Charles Babcock. Like I don't know the guy or whatever, like we know very, very little of him, but from his case being presented through this humorous filings of, just the way that it's presented, for some reason, I don't know, I'm endeared to Jed in the fact that I feel like maybe he might have been involved in like some crisis PR stuff, but I don't believe that he went as far as like smearing people, because then that's another thing. Smear campaign. What's the meaning? Is it a smear campaign if you're telling the truth about somebody and just putting it out there? Or does it have to be lies? Is smearing lies? Or Because like with Blake Lively, when they're like, oh, this is a smear campaign, well, all of these things are, most of these things, I guess, allegedly are true about her, right?
Mhm.
She did the way she marketed the movie, the way all this stuff. So I was like, because to me, the word smear means like tainting, untruth, that type of thing. So for me, the term smear has a different meaning than if it's, stuff that can be proven true. So that's another thing that I struggle with is like, what is an actual smear campaign?
Mhm.
Is it just the bot part, like getting all these people to tell the truth about you, or, these alleged truths? Or is it the lie part, the fact that it's not true and it's defamation?
Well, both and. But I just want to say X because what we're seeing is the public is how sketchy PR is. And that's the whole point of this channel is like trust no headline. Because y'all don't realize how much you are actually being manipulated. Even in your comment section on posts, bots are there that are almost indistinguishable from real people. Sock puppet accounts pushing a narrative. We are all being manipulated every moment of every day. It's just the reality on the internet. And whether you're talking about politics, whether you're talking about pop culture and a PR crisis, I'm going to be completely transparent with you all yesterday. And I told my mods this in our group chat yesterday. After I posted that video of Rebel Wilson and Melissa Nathan being added into it, I got hit within an hour with a lot of posts that had very interesting talking points that Blake planted it. She's after Jed's list. There's about 3 talking points, and each account had no followers. They're following a couple, never followed me before, never commented before, and they gave the feeling of PR. So, and that would have been from Justin's side. If that came from Blake's side, anyone would have been like, that's a bot. 100% that's a bot. And then if I countered what they were saying, so one person was saying, or one of the talking points was Jed wasn't even mentioned. And I referenced the part where that he is in fact mentioned in the text messages. And they say, oh, I'm so sorry for the misunderstanding. And then they bring the point back of, but this is still just about getting the client list. So PR is going to PR at the end of the day. And I think it's just like what I always hope for everyone with this channel is you trust no headline and you think critically, even with like Taylor Swift has a lot of bots. Blake has bots. I mean, they all have bots or they at least sock puppet accounts and just question things, right? When you start to look at the facts, and that's what I hope to do with the expose is like set out the facts and then everyone gets to make up their own mind on what they think's going on. Because when we're looking at, and this is to circle back to what you said, CJ, about smear campaigns. This is also something Jed had said and offered to do within the agreement was like basically amplify certain narratives, go in and comment certain things, boost certain things. And that definitely happens in PR. And smear campaigns can be both and whether it's, well, the best smear campaigns aren't going to be outright lies. And it's stupid if you're doing outright lies, to be quite honest, because the reality is then you're going to get your ass sued. Like, I don't think I've ever known anyone in PR that like does outright lies, although it happens for like in terms of spreading the truth. But usually the best campaigns are going to be taking those nuggets of truth, you sensationalize it and you amplify it. Well, how you amplify it is going to be based on the certain campaign. It could be bots amplifying it, going into Reddit and upvoting certain things, sock puppet accounts. But the whole idea is you're taking a certain narrative to have narrative control. You're sensationalizing it, amplifying it, and then the tools you use to amplify it will be different. But the best ones are going to be a nugget of truth because what happens? People go to Google and then there's a trail of it. And they're like, oh yeah, look at this. Look what someone did here and look at what they did here. So this must be true. The worst things, and if I'm honest, the only things I can find, not saying that she's not involved. At this point, the only things I can find in regards to Amanda Ghost being attached to like being the Indian Ghislaine Maxwell is it all links back to either Rebel Wilson's filing or the smear campaign website. And the smear campaign website came before the filing. So it's at the end of the day, PR is taking a certain narrative and amplifying it by whatever means the client approves of, essentially.
And really quick, when you're mentioning websites, like this isn't the first time, and maybe not even directly attached to the work that Jed does or anything like that. It could just be a PR thing or just like a thing that happens when people get upset with other people and want to expose them, because like you said, it's on the internet, tons of people see it, it changes the SEO if somebody
Yep.
Googles the name. Because recently, I was sent a story about a real estate scammer, the one that I call a Timu Blake. And there's a website about some of the things that, she did. And this is just in the real world, like a regular person. And then I know that there was another website with someone who was doing stuff with crypto and stuff. And then a website went up about, this person may not be who they say they are, blah, blah, blah. So I've seen it at least 3 or 4 times just in the regular real world of people who want to expose, some kind of, slight that happened, and they'll create this website with the name of the person sucks or the name of the person is a liar or whatever. So to me, when I saw it, I was like, okay, well, it could be something that's offered in PR, or it could just be someone who goes and buys a domain and is like, look, this person slighted me, I'm going to go and do it. So that's why I still feel like you said, critical thinking and stuff. Obviously, Occam's razor, the most likely scenario, but I still feel like it could have just been Rebel, you know, herself doing it, or someone else. I still haven't been fully convinced that it's Melissa and Jed's doing just yet.
Yeah, if you guys don't like the stream, Nightbot's coming back. Bring Nightbot back. No one wants Nightbot. Okay, so this is what I found as well, guys. So Variety, because one of the things that people were saying is like, well, don't trust Variety. It doesn't mean that there's actually a legal filing about this. So yes, those text messages did show up in Blake Lively's. Do I have it up here?
And I think they got it from Reddit, because now that we know that they're like looking at Reddit, looking at posts and stuff, because Reddit was like, I know DFJ sent it to me, but I never like shared it with anyone or anything. And then it hit Reddit like 3 days later on the 16th, I believe. And then there was a whole thing talking about what was Rebel's case and all this and deep dives in it. And so I wonder if Camille scooped it up from there.
No doubt about that. Reddit is definitely a place, if they're smart, they're going to be scraping. Let me see if, oh, y'all, I have too many up. Damn it. I picked the one that's redacted. Okay, we need to close some of these. But yes, that's a great point that you put out as well, is they absolutely are going to have people that are in Reddit that are even on the members only lives. We look back in the my social listening tools. You're going to see even Reddit pop up there. So if you're following, I'll show you guys. Actually, maybe we'll pull up Rebel Wilson today on the members only live. If you're following, say Rebel Wilson, and they add it on to Amanda Ghost, you're going to see in social media tools, it will pop up showing like a Reddit thread, crying out loud, a Reddit thread that comes up in regards to the case, in regards to what the comments are. It is very easy to track the goings on if you have social monitoring tools. 100%. That's a great point. Sorry, guys. I am just struggling with pulling shit up today.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'm like over here talking, and I know you wanted to go over the actual filings and stuff. So,
no. I was just going to show them. I just trying to show the actual. You talk, girl. There we go.
It's just detail, and that's a good part about having two of us, because I can give the thoughts and then you can clear them up, because you have the PR experience and stuff too, to be able to give context.
Yeah. So we had talked about this one last night. In regards to the text messages. So they did show up. How long ago did you say they became, where we could actually see them? Was it 2 weeks ago, roughly?
It was August 14th.
The 14th. That's right. So these are here, guys. So I've seen some comments saying like, oh, this has got to be Blake's team that, leaked these text messages. From everything we can find, this was just text. Here's the problem. You guys want to know the problem that I think? Melissa has a big mouth, my opinion only, and she shouldn't have been talking about this shit the way she was. She's trashing everyone in her text messages, including Justin and Jen Abel. She's talking about all her bloody cases in these text messages. Like, girl, shut up. Why are you talking about this? So she's talking about it in this thread here that Blake got her hands on through Discovery. and it was posted on the Lively Wayfair docket. And I agree with CJ, guys. I think they were looking, and I'll show you guys in the group and the members only. They were likely monitoring the cases and the names on social listening tools, and they saw that come up in Reddit, and Camille was on it. And they're like, holy shit, look at this. Because around this time, there was a Reddit thread, and it was titled Melissa Nathan Loves Her Websites. And it was breaking down the fact that something came up again with Melissa Nathan having run a website. But these are the texts, my friends. So Katie Case, true, this article needs to run. He needs to see it. Katie Case, also, hi, how are you? Melissa Nathan, it's 6:30. I'm already trying to kill one Rebel story and dealing with Mattel loss for Brian. Melissa Nathan, so basically Rebel wants one of those sites. Katie Case, I know, I'm sorry. Katie Case, and okay. Melissa Nathan, should be a mixture of that document that I think Carolina pulled about Amanda Goes, or the, it's supposed to say Ghost. Amanda Ghost, or the intern pulled. The voice note and this. And then there's an iCloud message attachment. Katie Case, okie dokes. I'll pull this together this morning. Melissa Nathan, thank you. It can be really, really harsh. And then link to the Jed S voicing. I think this is Jed. Like Jed. I don't know where the S comes from, but they talk about here a voice note. So a mixture of the document, what Carolina pulled, and this voice note. But then it says, Melissa Nathan, I just can't deal with this SB stuff. What is wrong with him? Katie Case, loved it. Where does she say about the Russian oligarch? Oh, there it is. So they keep going back and forth. Melissa Nathan, Len, Russian oligarchs, and making her madame, basically. LOL, said Jed. Ooh, Katie Case. Oh my God. LOL. Okay, this will be fun. What are your thoughts, CJ? That makes me cringe, especially in a random group text talking about multiple cases.
Yeah. Part of the whole thing that all of how this went down is everybody just talking too much in text message.
Yeah.
I'm not excusing as like, do your dirt, just don't talk about it, and like be more smart about it or whatever. I'm not condoning that at all. Don't think that, but I do feel like this whole mess, even with Baldoni, started through Jen Abel's phone that had so much stuff. And I know that they were like, let's talk through Signal and stuff, but obviously you're talking here through text messages, iMessages, and Signal. So to me, that didn't make sense. It's like you're aware that this is private stuff that you need to talk, and like, oh, we can't have this in writing. There was a point where it said that, but yet then you're writing stuff down. So I do think that it's insane that we're seeing stuff like this in writing. But then I also know that this is what Melissa Nathan and Katie Case. Is Melissa Katie's boss, I would say, or just their colleagues? Yeah.
At this point, and then shortly after, not.
Yeah. So, this is just like random talk. Like, I mean, people who text their friends or whatever, like that's why I also didn't really hold Jen and Melissa accountable for how they talked about Baldoni, because sometimes, like imagine if there's people who are like upset, with their significant other or whatever, and they're talking to their girlfriend and they're like, he didn't wash the dishes or something, like, I can't stand him. But then later it's like, you don't really feel like that. Actually, you were just like in a moment kind of angry.
Yeah.
So that's how I felt about those text messages a little bit, where I was like, if Baldoni's their boss and they're just like two coworkers just like venting on their boss, at the time they may have felt that way because they're like, well, hello, he's going on vacation and we got to do all this work and I hope he learns his lesson type of thing. So I never really like felt any type of way about them over that. And like, even with this, where they're like, it seems like it's just like a normal chat where they're like, ugh, I'm trying to put out these fires, girl. Like, and so maybe this is a thing, a lesson for PR people. Like, y'all, this day and age where, Celebrite is a thing, you might want to consider, even Signal could be dangerous because, unless you have that auto delete or whatever. And they try to communicate through voice notes, which is probably smarter because that can't be extracted to Celebrate. So they did do some smart stuff, but they also did some really dumb stuff. So, calling out the Russian oligarchs and all this stuff, it's like, I wonder if they could also, because the counterclaim is it for I don't think it says defamation for Melissa Nathan. I think it's just um her contributing to it, but I wonder if Katie Case will come in as well into the case, because right now it's just
So,
tag PR. But
yeah.
personally, like with this, like, they're making some allegations. There's no allegedly in these texts.
Yeah. And my job is words. Branding, marketing, PR is literally all words. This is what's always, and let me know in the chat, guys, what are your thoughts? Russian oligarchs and making her a madame, basically. LOL, said Jed. Making her a madame. So this isn't, and it might just be because uh, I pay attention to shit like this, but this is weird to me. Making her one, I thought y'all said that she is one. Why do you have to make her one if she is one? And so that's really odd to me. And shit, maybe she doesn't know billionaire Russians.
I thought it might have been referring to, because I've been like analyzing those texts for a while now, and I thought it could have also been referring to Rebel, maybe, like like they were trying to recruit Rebel, because like how Lane would recruit other people to recruit other people. So I thought maybe, like,
Yeah.
when I reread it, I was like, I wonder if, because Rebel originally, in the original complaint, it says that she was offered, in order for them to produce the movie or whatever, because she had all the rights to the screenplay and everything, right?
Mhm.
And so in order for them to produce the movie, there was already like some kind of like quid pro quo in a way, because she was offered her own record label. It was going to be called Rebellionaire, like millionaire and rebel put together.
Mm,
Um, her own record label, where she was going to be able to put out the soundtrack for the movie, and she was going to get a writing credit. And she says that she has evidence through texts and emails that she worked on the second, third, fourth draft of that play. Because what ended up happening was, there's another date that I'll give you that's also important for your timeline,
mhm,
is the Australian Writers Guild, the AWG.
mhm,
They were involved in, like, it's not considered like a lawsuit, but it's like a complaint type of thing, where um, the girl who won the contest, because Rebel had a contest
mhm,
for like screenplays or whatever, like, submit your screenplay. The Deb, which is this musical, um, it won. It was this girl named, I forget her first name, something Riley.
mhm,
Um, and so she won. So obviously this is her writing, this is her screenplay, right?
mhm,
So she's the one who gets the writing credit. But because Rebel, I guess, pulled a Ryan Reynolds and rewrote and all that stuff, she wanted a writing credit. So the argument here, the big thing of the case, is that Amanda Ghost and Camille are claiming, hey, Rebel didn't get this writing credit, because what ended up happening was that they went to the Writers Guild and had like a whole kind of like, let them decide, and they decided that no, Rebel was not going to get a writing credit. So obviously her evidence must not have been enough. I'm not sure, because I'm still trying to pull up that case. I still haven't found it, the AWG case, and I don't know
yeah.
if they keep them public or what. But so she's saying, like, this is retaliation because she didn't get the writing credit, and then she made this up or whatever. So now I lost track of where I was going with the story. My bad.
Sounds familiar though. Blake Lively wanted credit, and then it appears that, and again, I'm gonna lay this all out, but it's just interesting how there's all these similar threads. It's like allegedly not getting what you want, trying to extort people, and then going public with things. It's just bizarre to me.
Oh, so I remembered the train of thought. So we're talking about madams and oligarchs and stuff like that. So what ends up happening is that McKinney's or whatever ends up getting um, a label deal with Amanda Ghost's current label. So she gets a deal, not her own label, but she gets a deal, a record deal. And she also gets this other production, a role. It's called The Great Gatsby, another musical
Mm,
that they're working on. And so for a second there, to me, when I was like team Ghost or whatever, it seemed
mhm.
like, well, Rebel wanted to be the one being and I'm just joking, this is allegedly the one being trafficked. She wanted
Oh
to
my
be
god.
the quid pro quo one. She wanted to get the record deal. She wanted to get something out of it. And then when she didn't, and someone else did, she's like, well, I'm about to throw everybody under the bus. So this is just allegedly. I have several like working theories on it. But
I'm
that was
kind
one.
of I'm kind of in that vein with you though. So far, and guys, I'm always open. You're gonna go through this case with me in the expose series. I'm open to having my mind change, but I'm with you at this point. That's what it feels like. And when you kind of look from just a bird's eye view of the case, you see how rapidly it went from that to kind of like this almost extortion, holding up the movie. Then she went public with it. And then the website goes up, and then she files this lawsuit. It's just this whole thing. And I agree. It seems like that is a recurring theme with some actors, making a lot of demands, using threats and extortion to get what they want, and then going scorched earth if they don't get the outcome. And this is something I've said from the beginnings. A lot of people have been saying, no, I think Ryan Reynolds is going to go down. At this point, I don't think so, because guys, this shit happens. Like if it does turn out that Rebel Wilson had tried to, she got pissed she didn't get the credit she wants, allegedly. Let's just go with that working theory. So she tried to take over. It didn't work. She didn't get what she wants. So she went public after the extortion attempt failed. Then she, made all these allegations, created a website, etc. All of this is showing, and all of it showing within the Blake Lively case as well, as this is bigger than just Ryan Reynolds. Like, this is the shit that the playbook was on sale and came free with Audacity. You're killing me. Basically, it feels like the playbook was on sale for Hollywood. And that's what I want to dig into, because everyone's going to have their own unique way of looking at this case. That's what I want to dig into, because I've said, and I've been willing to die on this hill from the beginning, is I think Ryan's only quote unquote protected, one, because he's in with Ari Emanuel for sure, but two, because they all know at the top that this shit happens. It's not like anyone's like, shock Pikachu. Ah! Ryan and Blake try to take over a movie. They're like, yeah, bitches, we do that every day. We throw our weight around and try to take over shit that we want. How do you think we got here? Like, I don't know.
It's also
just
like
sketchy.
a bigger conversation too, because I remember I did a stream where we were talking about Fat Joe and what is his name, Tyler Perry, and the quid pro quo stuff, and how where is there accountability for this type of stuff, where if the people who already do it, because she does use the word, I know someone in your chat was like, oh, like casting couch stuff. She actually says that in her filing, it was casting couch stuff. On whether like it's a bigger conversation on whether the people who do actually take it and do things like this, like, does it affect the people who don't want to do things like this? Because now it's like, well, if you want the big career, if you want the big role, there's people who are willing to do it, and they don't ever talk about it, right? Because we know that there was other victims, allegedly, in the Harvey Weinstein stuff that just did their thing and got famous, and there's rumors of certain names going around that so and so did this or whatever, and never ever talked about it. They just did it and got the fame and kept on moving. So I feel like there's also another conversation on that, because it seems like, well, Rebel was fine with like is that considered a quid pro quo if you make a deal with someone and you say, hey, you finance my movie, you produce it, but yeah, I want this in return. Obviously, you're not doing like favors or anything that are of sexual nature there, but it also is like tit for tat, like you do this for me, I'll do this for you, and then it might have been a rug pull for Rebel if that's what she was promised. And then later on, they were like, never mind, we changed our mind. And then, Charlotte McKinney's is the pie, and you're just,
that's true,
thrown to the side. So I don't know. It's very nuanced. That's why it's super complicated. And like you said, people will look at it from different perspectives and stuff like that, because there's so many perspectives to look at it from: the PR, the casting couch perspective, the lies and what is lies and what isn't, what's defamation, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it's so complicated. And the whole casting couch thing, I've said for a while, like, this is not me saying Harvey Weinstein is a good man. Please don't get this twisted, guys. And I've said that casting couch shit, that quid pro quo goes on more than people realize. Like, it's like this dark underbelly of the industry. And yes, people should be going to jail for their role in it. And, you see the Ari Emanuels who made this like big grand statement after Harvey Weinstein went to jail. And then I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but the head of CAA at the time was like, as if he's someone to be talking about this. Like Ari Emanuel had settled a case for SH in the workplace, and he told Terry Crews that he could only get leading man roles if he dropped the SA allegations in case against the top WME person. Like this shit is so rife in Hollywood. And that's the thing that gets me more than anything. Is like, it's all PR. It's like all magic and PR and branding that makes it seem like it doesn't happen. Or once in a while, you'll get like the sacrificial lamb that's thrown under the bus. Rightfully so, they deserve to be. But also, it's like it distracts you because you're missing the fact that this is what happens, and it's sickening.
Yeah. And, obviously the people who do get, buy and get these big roles, they're not going to want to expose it or talk about it because they're moving up the ladder. You see people like Terry Crews who, claims that he was blackballed, Brandon Fraser who claims a lot of male actors who, and that's where, the conversation allegedly on Tyler Perry came in. It's like, how many of these actors that were in his movies or stuff did take those advances and did, take the money and stuff. And even the guy who sued him, it was an unpopular opinion, but the guy who sued him, when I read all the paperwork, I was like, he keeps talking about how he's sticking around hoping his movie gets made, and he's putting up with these advances instead of just being like, hey, no, let me expose you now. So he waits like a whole year and a half almost to expose them, and thus exposing himself to more trauma because it keeps happening to him. And so in a way, I know that I did it with a girl named Pam Entertainment TV. She does celebrity legal cases too. And it's just funny because I was like the devil's advocate because she's just like, no, in no way does this make him, he's the victim in this case. But I was like, but is he really though? Because at the very end, once Tyler told him like, hey, I'm not going to be able to make your pilot episode, then he files the lawsuit and then he does all this stuff. It's like,
it's tough. It's tough. It's so hard. And it's just, I think, so accepted in Hollywood that I don't know what's going to need to change it, or if it ever will. Voldy Gone Moldy, I love that name. Thank you so much for the super chat for the scurry furry farm animals. They will appreciate it. We're trying to get damn it. We are getting a goat cam up for you guys because everyone keeps asking for a goat cam because you guys love the goats. All right, so we'll just touch on this quick and then we'll let CJ go. It's your Saturday. I don't want to keep you long, and then we'll jump on the members only live. I don't have a link up yet, guys. I will get that in just a couple minutes after we get off of this. But yes, just to wrap it up, Melissa is officially, and Tag are officially named within the Amanda Ghost lawsuit or complaint. And we see it. So they start adding her here, the professional working relationship. So Melissa worked on behalf of Rebel. There's the quotes. So she brings in the quotes that were, like CJ said, very likely seen through social listening tools on Reddit. Camille was on it. Someone was on it. The PR team was on it, filed this. But they have these quotes here. See where Jed's name. So they have all this, but Jed's name, there it is. So Miss Ghost is informed and believes and thereon alleges that the does include a person named Jed who was involved in coordinating and directing the publication of defamatory material via the websites in collusion with Miss Nathan and her staff and with Rebel. Miss Ghost will amend the cross complaint to add the correct name of the individual named Jed and sued herein as Doe after obtaining further evidence of his or her identity. Rebel, Miss Nathan, Tag, and Does 1 through 50 are collectively referred to herein as cross defendants.
Yeah, so I think Katie Case might come in.
Yes.
Jed, obviously, if they prove that's the same Jed. Yeah. So Doe's 1 through 50 could be a ton of those PR employees that we're seeing. Butler.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking when I saw the Does. I was like, well, who do we know are the players in the Lively case that were involved?
I think it's going to be interesting to see all this play out, but I think we're going to get more filings. I don't know much about the law. I don't know if this is going to open the door for them to be able to search more of Melissa's, phone and content in Jed's. Now they have names because it, from my understanding, is it was originally all the 1 to 50 does. Then these text messages came out. Well, now they have a name of a doe, which is Melissa Nathan. They seem to have the name of the other doe, which is Jed, but you still got 48 does that they still haven't identified yet.
Yeah, so it could get really messy. And like right now there's also, like you said, it was cross country, right? Because there's
Yeah.
also a lawsuit going on in Australia um with the production company in, as far as the movie. So it's twofold. It's the defamation stuff that was brought on by Amanda Ghost and Rebel accusing her of this stuff, but it's also like cuz my series is called Rebel versus Ghost: The Hollywood Heist.
The
And
Hollywood Heist.
the Hollywood Heist, and it's explaining like what the repercussions are for the movie and kind of like the movie portion of it as well, because some of the other defendants here are the Camp Sugar Productions, which is Rebel's
Yeah.
production company, AI Film Productions, which is Amanda Ghost's film company. So that's why I know a lot of my followers are like, when are you putting out the Rebel series? When are you putting it out? And I'm like, well, it's so complicated and tangled that I have to untangle all the pieces and then figure out how to present it to where it's like natural and you can follow the case,
Mm-hmm.
which it starts with Rebel's past. So I did like one for each person, like Rebel, Amanda,
Mm-hmm.
um, so that you get to kind of like know it. And then I told them like, we could do a separate deep dive going into all like the docket and stuff after. But like you can't
Yeah.
go into the docket documents without knowing all of the stories, which includes Ghost's past and Rebel's past, because it's all combined into what ends up coming out in the filings.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an absolute mess. And, I'm going to be breaking it down here on the channel, guys. So make sure to subscribe if you are not currently subscribed. From like the PR, everything for me is always going to come back to that PR, media manipulation, narrative control lens. So that's what we're going to be looking at through. And then CJ has her series, and I know the mods have been sharing your channel as well in the chat. Her series as well, looking into this. And I'm not, my goal isn't to tell you what to think or whose side to take. My goal is to just present everything. And it's just so important for me that we keep a critical lens on it, because everything is everything at the end of the day. Trust no headline, my mug that I made for merch.
Yep.
Everything is, there's an angle to it. There's a reason it's out. Now I will say this, and then we'll wrap up. It's 11:11, guys, for those who are into numerology.
Yay.
So I will say this, I do not believe, and I will die on this hill unless I'm proven otherwise, I don't believe Blake ran that Variety headline. People are coming out and saying, this has got to be Blake. It's Blake's team. I don't think so.
No.
Y'all, yeah, you don't think so either?
I honestly think because like me, I was sitting on it and I remember DFJ was like, you need to report on this. And I was like, I'm not reporting on Rebel until I get everything together, because I didn't want to like report falsely, or like I wanted to get all the facts together before I reported on it. And now, like you said, um how you're saying that you're going to be like kind of neutral and reporting on it and letting
Mhm.
other people decide, because that's the same way that I kind of have been with the Drake stuff, because I be flip-flopping with Drake. One minute I'm like pro Drake, one minute I'm anti Drake, and it's the same thing with this. I remember when Zach covered when McKinney's put in her complaint against Rebel Wilson, because now she also has a complaint against her, not a full on lawsuit, but she's got a complaint. So when he reported it, I had messaged Zach and I was like, dude, like you don't understand, like I was team Ghost, but now I think I'm team Wilson, because there's more stuff, like you got to dive deeper. And then most recently, like in the last 2 or 3 days, doing the deep dive, and especially with this coming out, I was like, well, maybe Ghost has a point, because Rebel is this or that. And so I've been flip-flopping back and forth, so I don't really have an angle to
Yeah.
be like with the Baldoni stuff, where I'm just like, nah, it's clear as day that like this is a lie, this is a lie, look, this was it's not like that for me, or other cases where it's super clear. Another one is that Kevin Costner case that's going on, that's supposedly SH. I at first thought like, oh, this isn't like a Blake thing. She actually has a case. But then when Kevin Costner put his receipts out with the, we didn't even do video, it was just a picture and it was just a block. I'm like, this girl said she was having a film, and they didn't yell cut or nothing, and it was literally just pictures for blocking. So that one I flip-flopped on as well. So yeah, I think your approach of just putting the facts out there and letting people decide.
Yeah. And I agree with I'm Jess, narrative hijacking from Rebel side. That's what we talked about on the stream yesterday. And I've talked to a couple big PR people in the industry as well. And while they're not directly obviously involved in Blake's case, they also said they do, like, of course, it could be in some universe, but they also do not believe it's Blake's side that put that story out. And I 100% believe that was keyword hijacking and narrative hijacking, 100%. Because you put those names together, you add, like, if you are the producers, so like Ghost, the producers, everyone that's against Rebel, if you want your story to start trending, that, hey, there was a smear campaign against us, she came for us, there's no faster way than to put Blake Lively in the headline and tie it back to the It Ends With Us lawsuit to get it to start trending. I 100% at this
That's why I
point
think
believe that.
Variety probably also got it from Reddit, or it was something that they were already sitting on. But then once the filing came out and it
Yep.
was legit, then it's like, oh, okay, then I can report on
Yep.
it because now it's tied to something and there's a filing.
And
So
it was like that. It came out right away.
right
It's
after
fast.
the filing hit. So they must have
Yeah.
been watching the docket or something. But I don't think that, I mean, it could very well be Camille was like, hey, Variety, you want a story? Look, we just filed this. Because in the McKinney's case, it's not an actual lawsuit. So it's just like a letter saying like, hey, you need to chill out or I'm going to
Mhm.
sue you. And there's no way for the public to get a hold of that yet. The Guardian had the story. All kinds of people had the story. And the only way for that, it was, Rebel
Yep.
put it out, or McKinney's lawyers put it
Yep.
out. Like someone had to have said, this is the email she received. Because I mean, I looked for it and then I finally went to go
Yeah.
to Google, like, letters of concern like, are they publicly available? Because that's what it's called. It's called a letter of concern in Australia. And
Okay.
it said no, they're not publicly available. It's kind of like just like an email that's drafted up by like a lawyer that says, this is my concern.
Oh,
It's what you have to do in Australia before you do a lawsuit.
I see. So that
So
someone leaked it
somebody
then.
had to have leaked that, because how else would we know?
Yeah. And that's not Blake.
Mhm.
You
So
know,
yeah,
it's
the
some,
Blake theory, I don't think has legs. I don't think it has anything to do with Blake. I think, like you said, they just capitalized on
yeah.
the clicks.
And I
And
think
it is adjacent. I mean, obviously
for
Blake's
sure.
name's gonna have to be on there because it's adjacent. It's the
Yeah.
same.
100%. And I think that's the thing as well, is we can't get so in the weeds that we forget that other people also have PR and narrative control they want out, right? Not everything now is going to be linked back to Blake. Ghost, Wilson, everyone involved is going to have a narrative they are going to be pushing, and their PR agents are going to be trying to push. And it's going to benefit both sides because it's adjacent now to It Ends With Us, to get this story trending. That's the only reason I'm talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only reason I'm talking about it.
And one of the things, that last little Easter egg, because I know we're doing the Russian goodbye here, but Russian oligarchs, Russian goodbye. But one last little Easter egg that I wanted to just mention is Brian Friedman. Okay, so we know that, shout out to our boy Kevin Fritz, who's been taking the helm with
Yeah.
the Baldoni stuff, and Ellen Girofalo. But Brian Friedman has been, kind of ghost in the Baldoni case, and then now we see here in the Rebel case, Friedman is no longer in the forefront. And I wonder if that's going to be the same for the Vin Diesel case, because of what happened with him
Oh.
in the Vin Diesel stuff. So I'm wondering, is this, that angle of Brian Friedman no longer being in the forefront of, because he used to be, kind of big. They'd say
Yep.
he was similar to Marty Singer, who's like a big hotshot Hollywood lawyer. And I believe that Brian Friedman was his mentee.
Mm.
So I'm wondering, like, is this the fall of Brian Friedman we're also seeing? Because now all of a sudden he's taking steps back. We're not
Yeah.
seeing him in the limelight. I know Jillian Michaels talked about hiring him for her lawsuit, but I haven't heard anything on whether she did or didn't. So that's another thing to keep an eye on, is the Friedman of it all, especially for us Friedman stands
Yeah.
who like his lawyering.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it would have been really interesting to see his writings. And if you see the first complaints or the cross complaints and answers from Rebel, He did a really good job with those. So we'll see how Miss Catherine Thompson does answering this.
Wow. Yeah, this is going to be wild, but I'm sorry I kept you so long on a Saturday.
No, you're all right. I was like so tired, but then once we get to talking, I'm like, ooh, I got that second wind.
I know. You can't stop once we get started, but
yeah, so
tell
I
everyone.
appreciate you having me on so much because it's always good to have. I love picking your brain, and I know I want you on my show for some other PR. I posted Justin Bieber, his Swag 2 album, how he I felt like it was great PR marketing. Like the Barbenheimer stuff, like the
Yep.
pink and the black. So Swag, his first album was like, in grays, black and whites. And then now Swag 2 is all bubblegum pink. And I had posted like Blake and Ryan are probably jealous they couldn't pull off Barbenheimer like Bieber just did, So there's a lot of like things I love to pick your brain on because obviously ever since you taught me PR branding. See it here. I see it here. Look at the
I love it. No, I would be absolutely honored. And why don't you, on that note, let people know where to find you?
Well, I'm C Journalist 24 on all platforms. On Instagram and TikTok, I believe I'm CJ.CJournalist 24. But I know a lot of people are like, it's so hard to find you. And someone's like, you need to change it. I thought about going CJ Reports or something easy because this is like a number. And a lot of people will type in CJ Journalist because, my name is CJ. But C Journalist 24 on all platforms. And then I'm going to get back into the groove of things. I know that, I took a couple weeks off, days off, whatever, for the Perez Hilton stuff while traveling. But the show is Monday through Thursday. It's called Objection. It's on YouTube. It's celebrity legal cases. Monday, we are going to do a medley that includes this. It's going to be about smear campaigns. Pedro Pascal's involved in a lawsuit.
Oh my gosh.
He's suing a wine company or an alcohol company because it's the company's called Pedro Pascal or something. Like it's like a play on his name or something.
So ridiculous.
It's Piscal. But anyway, so we're going to cover that lawsuit as well as whether, there's a smear campaign. One of my followers sent me something saying that there's a smear campaign against Pedro Pascal and that it has to do with J.K. Rowling and him calling her out. So that's going to be some tea.
Yeah.
And I'm including, Rebel. We're basically going to be talking about smear campaigns, whether they're legit or not. Rebel. And I have another case as well where people are claiming that they were smeared. So it should be it's Monday medley on Mondays. It's a couple of cases all together. So looking forward to that. Me and DFJ are supposed to do Perez Hilton tonight, wrapping that up. Because he just filed a new brief and that story is still ongoing. He said he's got some surprises on Monday. So we'll see what else he's got up his sleeve. Maybe he's got a lawyer now. I know he was asking for a lawyer. Maybe that's a surprise, but
that would be good.
He didn't want to give it away. And there's that. And if I have bandwidth for it, y'all, Sunday, I want to do my Donna Adelson Roman Empire. She was convicted, found guilty, and the episode's going to be called Wendy's Next, who is her daughter, who's the ex-wife of the guy who got unalived. So, everyone's thinking she's going to be arrested by Monday because, they're taking one down at a time.
Yeah.
So hopefully if I have the bandwidth for it, I know I always overpromise and deliver. People are still waiting on Rebel. I mean, I get at least 2 DMs being like, when is Rebel coming out? Because I've been working on it for 2 months. But it's coming soon. Like I said, I got 8 episodes done. It's going to be about 10 minutes altogether. So it's 10 1-minute episodes to catch you guys up on the case. So look forward to that. Ashley, always a pleasure. I appreciate it. No one else. I'd rather, do a deep dive on this because the PR aspect alone, your insights are, great on that. Very little people know the behind the scenes work, like you said.
Well, I love having you on. You're always welcome here. I'm sorry I keep dragging you on a freaking Saturday.
No, that's okay. You're fine.
But this was amazing. Guys, we will wrap that up today. Make sure to support CJ. If you haven't liked the stream, please like the stream. Subscribe to the channel. I will also have the exposés starting to roll out next week. I'm hoping Monday will be our first part of the series over here. And if you are a member of the channel, stick around. Give me about 5 minutes, and then we will be going live for the members only. We'll look at the filing by Amanda Ghost, and I'm going to actually bring up the social listening tools that PR teams use, and we'll actually pull up Rebel Wilson and we'll see what was popping up that her team might have seen trending. All right, my friends, thank you so much for being here. And with that, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.
Have a great Saturday.